We're going to talk about things like
It's the Glenn Beck program.
John McCain, 11%. Kirsten Sinema, 88.6%.
What you are about to hear is the fusion of entertainment and enlightenment. This is the Glenn Beck program.
Tonight, I am doing a big chalkboard show on the Constitution. When I first recommended this last week, everybody's like, well, that's not really sexy, Glenn. And I'm like, I know, but it is the answer. And we all need to understand it. Tonight, harmful content, how King Biden is killing the Constitution. It is being turned upside down, and your rights are in jeopardy. And you better know what your rights are and how to defend them. Tonight, you don't want to miss it. We're going to talk about the Constitution and the things that are being done right now that are unconstitutional and have to stop with Senator Mike Lee in 60 seconds.
The Glenn Beck program.
See, wouldn't it be nice if you could get your mobile company service from a company that gave you the same great service that you already have and appreciate, and they don't charge an arm and a leg. In fact, you could save a ton of money. And while you're at it, maybe you could get a company that's not donating to Planned Parenthood, or to, squash freedom of speech. Wouldn't that be nice? Well, it's here. The company is Patriot Mobile. They are on the same towers as all the major carriers, so you get the same great service, although it's at half the cost. Patriot Mobile has affordable, customizable plans for any family, and they donate a portion of your bill to conservative causes, unlike the big mobile companies who are donating things like Planned Parenthood. So what are you doing? We all have to stand together. We either hang together or we will certainly hang separately. PatriotMobile.com/Beck. PatriotMobile.com/Beck. Call 972-PATRIOT. 972-PATRIOT. Use the offer code Beck. It's PatriotMobile.com/Beck. Senator Mike Lee is joining us now. Thank you. I know you just had to cast a vote, and you got another one coming up, so I appreciate the time you're taking with us, Mike.
Anytime.
Mike, I am more and more concerned about our nation with every day that goes by. I know you have the same pit in your stomach that I have every day. As I go to work, I look at things like, for instance, the FBI now going to be used as a weapon on behalf of CRT and these school boards. That's not what the FBI is supposed to be doing. That's a state thing. But it's now almost like the FBI is an arm of the Justice Department, and the Justice Department will defend them.
Yeah, look, Glenn, I find this really disturbing. To me, the memo feels like code for we'll take over the parenting from here. We've got this. It's also code for parents suggesting that they shouldn't have a say in their children's education. So first we have teachers and we have their unions and also people like Terry McAuliffe who have basically been saying, hey, it's our job, not the parents' job, to decide what your kids are taught and how they're being taught. And now the Attorney General is using the force of the FBI to stop parents for having any say in what's being taught in their children's schools. Now, look, every state in the union has laws that protect people, including school officials, against assault, against all kinds of harassment. If they actually commit a crime, state and local authorities are able to deal with that.
Right.
I do not see any reason why the FBI should step in here. other than perhaps to send this message to parents. We'll take the parenting from here, and we're going to federalize these issues down your throat.
Mike, in the stimulus bill, there is the right for the instruction to the banks that they have to report any transaction. I've heard two things. I've heard $600. I heard yesterday morning that has been removed and made $10,000. But I don't know what the truth is anymore. But that's a violation of my Fourth Amendment rights.
No, it absolutely is. They might as well claim that they have general warrants against the American people.
And wait a minute. Explain general warrants. Isn't general warrant exactly one of the reasons why we broke away from the king?
Yes. There's any one policy that could be said to have been the straw that broke the camel's back, it may have been general warrants. That is to say that the Crown and Parliament were so aggressive and so insistent that the American colonists be brought to heel that they issued these documents that didn't bother to go after particular information. It basically just said, if you need any information to use on behalf of the king and Parliament, you can get that information. They kicked down people's doors. They rifled through their personal effects. And it was all okay because the government said so. So this is the sort of thing that is abusive, and it's the type of abuse of government that caused us to separate from the mother country and to create our Constitution.
We are also being told that we have to have a vaccine mandate. And if I'm not mistaken, a vaccine mandate can be done by individual states, but not by the federal government. Is that correct?
We've never, ever in the history of our republic had the federal government issue a general vaccination mandate. Not to be confused with something that affects particular employees of the federal government, like the troops. It's a different category, but a general population-wide mandate never had that. And so, look, Glenn, they're weaponizing OSHA. They're weaponizing the Centers for Disease Control. They've weaponized the Department of Justice, the IRS, the FBI. And this is unacceptable. The Constitution is clear. We have got to fight to protect it. Freedom doesn't pass to us through the bloodstream, as Ronald Reagan famously said. We have to fight for it. We have to defend it. We have to win it at every stage. And that means pushing back hard when we see these things happening, calling them out for what they are, which is aggressive abuses against the people.
So it doesn't seem, Mike, like there's a lot of people in the Senate or the House. I mean, I'm concerned about the $2.5 trillion, the 3.7, whatever it turns out to be. I'm concerned about the spending, but I am also probably more concerned about the infrastructure that these bills will allow the government to build. And they're very dangerous. Yeah,
it's as though they're saying we need problems for government to grow, so we're going to fund the creation of more problems so that we can grow the government bigger, so that we can create even more problems and perpetuate the growth of big, aggressive government. And you're exactly right with respect to the IRS. We're talking about pumping in an enormous sum of money to new law enforcement. At the same time, we're dramatically expanding the reporting obligations of banks in a way, by the way, that will probably drive a whole bunch of community banks out of business.
Oh, of course it will.
Because they're just the regulatory compliance costs of this. And so, look, it's important to remember, Glenn, that there are a whole lot of constitutional infractions that are rarely challenged in court, or when they are challenged, they're challenged inadequately or too late to matter. Most of what defending the Constitution is all about doesn't necessarily involve litigation, because you don't have time or resources to litigate each and every instance. What that means is, for our constitutional republic to survive, for the Constitution to have meaning, we have to defend it in the political branches and at the citizen level every single day, and call these things out and use what power we have in each branch to counter abuses in the other branches.
But everything is being couched as For instance, let me play what the president said yesterday about being complicit with America's decline. Listen to this. It's cut 4. Do we have it?
These bills are not about left versus right, or moderate versus progressive, or anything that pits Americans against one another. These bills are about competitiveness versus complacency. They're about opportunity versus decay. They're about leading the world or continuing to let the world pass us by, which is literally happening. To support these investments is to create a rising America, America that's moving. To oppose these investments is to be complicit in America's decline.
I found that extraordinarily disturbing because the word complicit, that is a legal term, if I'm not mistaken, that you are engaging in some illegal activity. You are doing something to harm the Constitution. But maybe that's just a play on words. But listen to how that is being... Go ahead.
It's not. That's exactly what he wants you to think. He wants to accuse you of some sort of abstract crime against humanity, or at least crime against the social welfare state, or crime against the excessive growth of the federal government. But Glenn, that was only the second most disturbing feature of that clip. The most disturbing feature of that clip is that what Joe Biden seems to be saying, what he seems to be assuming, the underlying assumption in all of this, is that he's not talking about America, the country, the nation, the people. He's talking about the United States government. There's a vast world of difference, a huge gulf between those two things. He wants to grow the federal government. The problem with government, Glenn, and the problem with growing the federal government in particular, you can't do it except at the expense of the liberty and the prosperity of the people. He knows that. He's willing to make that sacrifice. We as a people aren't. We have to counter him.
So how do we do that, Mike?
All right. So at every stage, people need to be reaching out to their elected officials, especially their
Does it actually work?
Officials in Washington.
Does it actually work?
It helps. Look, I routinely monitor these things, and I know my colleagues do as well, and encourage them as specifically as you can to push back on things like, and including, and right now especially, the vaccine mandate. It's not just about the vaccine. And look, I've been vaccinated. My family has too. I think that the vaccine is generally safe. But the federal government has no business making this decision for people who may have natural immunity, or may have religious objections, or may have a medical condition, or may, for whatever reason, not want to do it. None of the federal government's darn business. So members of Congress need to hear that. They need to hear that we need to keep pushing things. Like Senator Roger Marshall ran last week an amendment to the continuing resolution that would deprive the federal government of any funds to implement the vaccine mandate. All 50 Republican senators voted for it. Not a single Democrat did. Actually, Joe Manchin initially cast his vote as yes, and then late in the vote switched it to no. All of us need to hear over and over again that we need to keep bringing that up, and that we need to not fund the government if funding the government means we have to fund this unconstitutional mandate.
Well, that would be, the debt ceiling, not funding the government. Is this going to pass? Is Manchin and Sinema, are they going to fold on this? Are we getting this package?
Hey, the bottom line is, I'm certain that they will end up doing it, and they will end up passing a variation of the reconciliation package. It remains to be seen how long it'll take for them to get there. But they do operate as something of a well-oiled machine, and that's troubling. But Glenn, we do have some role in this. We're not entirely an object to be acted upon. We, as a citizenry, have always been in charge of our own government. We remain the sovereigns. The more we can act like it, and the more we can take ownership of it individually, and speak to our friends and our neighbors, in addition to our elected officials, our bosses, our colleagues at work, even those that we think we don't like at the moment. Talk to them about why this matters. Talk to them about what's at stake, and about the fact that the entire American experiment is all about asserting the sovereignty of the people, reminding government that it works for us and not the other way around. There are far too few of us in Washington who feel that way, but I know the overwhelming majority of the American people agree. And we need more of them in Washington and more of their influence felt here. One
last question. Whistleblower, Facebook. This is clearly, I mean, this woman is being represented by the attorneys that were representing and really pushing through the whistleblower on Trump's first impeachment. She has donated to far, far left groups. She's got Obama's deputy press secretary working with her. This is clearly a ruse. Why would CBS all of a sudden be for this and the Democrats all for it and everybody's covering this? They want, Facebook and those want more regulation. This is not something that conservatives should be for.
No, that's exactly right. And that's what creates this fake harmony moment. No, they're not here to ask us to the prom. They're not here to join our club. There are a whole lot of people who are focused on this issue, some for the wrong reasons, namely to adopt exactly what Facebook announced yesterday that it wants, which is comprehensive federal regulation of the internet itself. They want the excuse and the mandate from government to comprehensively regulate and require them to be both their mandator and their excuse for even more obsessively censoring speech. That's wrong. And so, look, in this area and everything else, I need your help, but I want you to know, and I want all of your listeners to know, I'm fighting like hell on this, on every one of these fronts, and I will fight as long as I'm alive, breathing, and in the United States Senate. We need all hands on deck right now, and we must always fight peacefully, but with the understanding also that the Constitution is on our side, natural law is on our side, the spirit of freedom that lives and beats within the heart of each of us is stronger than government, as overpowering and intimidating as it can be. It's a difficult fight. I'm in it. And anyone who wants to join in the fight and help me in this effort, I encourage them to go to leeforsenate.com and ask them for their help.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. leeforsenate.com.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Tonight at 9 o'clock, I'm going to be talking about the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, what it all means, how it came to be, and how you don't have to have the pocket Constitution. I mean, it would help, but you don't have to have the pocket Constitution if you have a basic understanding of a couple of things. You can ask yourself, does the government have a right to do this? And I'll show you how you can logically go through this and know. And you need to teach it to your friends. It's a basic understanding of what the Declaration of Independence, our Bill of Rights, and Constitution mean. And if we don't have a strong understanding of that, we cannot save it and preserve it. Tonight, 9 p.m. Make sure you join us. If you haven't subscribed to The Blaze yet, please do. We need your support. Blaze.com, blazetv.com/Glenn. blazetv.com/Glenn. Use the promo code Glenn and save. You know, it kills me. We're going to talk about this a little bit next hour. It really kills me how the feds are now everybody's hero on the left. And now we're going to send in the FBI to local school boards to question parents and keep surveillance on the parents because somehow or another the parents are terrorists. But people who were literally trying to burn down federal buildings, they're not terrorists. When we come back after the break, I'll remind you of what the media said when the feds were involved or were even suggested by President Trump to be involved in local matters. Oh my gosh, that was totalitarian fascism.
It's almost like these arguments don't
mean anything.
They just apply them when they're convenient.
All
like,
the world
for
is but a
example,
stage.
Yeah. I want to keep these decisions between the patient and the doctor. Remember that one?
Yeah.
It seems to be long gone and dead at this point.
And my doctor, he can't even give me the vaccine. He can't. My doctor, is if he's against it, he could lose his license now. And why can't I go to my doctor and have that private conversation about what I want to do with the vaccine and not have the federal government and the media involved?
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
American Financing, NML.
This is the Glenn Beck Program. Let me talk a little bit more about what the federal government can and cannot do. Let me start with the banks. They want a proposal, or they have a proposal now. The Biden administration has it in the infrastructure bill. Internal Revenue Service will be. Janet Yellen in the Treasury Department is calling this collection of information routine. Really? Then why do you have to change the law on that? Now, she says it's because the banks already report interest on any bank account that earns more than $10 of interest.
I thought it was because they already routinely break the law.
Yeah, so they very well could be. Very well could be. This is, she says, right now, every bank account that earns more than $10 a year in interest, the banks report the interest earned to the IRS. That's part of the information base that includes W-2s and reports on dividends and other income that taxpayers earn. So collection of information is routine. Okay, great. Then why do you need more? Why do you need more information? Here's why. She said there's an enormous tax gap in the U.S., and that's the reason they need this information. Blaming the gap on places where information on income can be hidden. Okay? Well, if you want to talk about income that can be hidden, then let's talk about illegal immigrants. Okay? Let's talk about that. Yeah, no, I know. It's dangerous to even say illegal immigrants now. I know a lot of them steal somebody else's identity and pay taxes, right? But they're stealing someone else's identity and paying in. Others are paid in cash. Well, we should have digital currency. Do you see where this is going? Somebody's always going to be avoiding something somewhere. Illegal aliens, they pay taxes. How many times have you heard that? They pay taxes. They pay more taxes than most people. Do they? Do they? 60% of this population, as of last year, don't pay any taxes. You think the legal aliens are paying the tax? Do you? Really? This is to control you. You say something, you're on a different side. You're, to quote Joe Biden, complicit with the American decline because you disagree with him. You will see an IRS agent at your door. Now, here's the difference between America and the rest of the world. America was great because America was good. But what made America good? The people. The people made America good, not the government. The people and the churches, our faith, made America good. And we kept the government at bay. In other countries, you're assumed guilty. Here in America, you are innocent until proven guilty. By taking your information from your bank account, they're saying people are avoiding taxes. So they're deeming all of us guilty and saying we just got to find it. This is why we said, when people said, I'm not doing anything wrong, what difference does it make to me? Because if there's a political agenda, they will find something. They will tie you with all of the mega data that is available on you, all of the data. You don't think they can piece something together that maybe is completely untrue, but you don't think they could make a case and make your life miserable? Remember, in today's world, all you have to do is be accused of something. We don't wait for the trial. We don't believe people are innocent until proven guilty. We hear it on social media and they're guilty. This collection of information, if it is routine, it needs to stop because they are weaponizing everything. The IRS is being weaponized. The Treasury Department with the banks being weaponized. The FBI going in on local issues, not destroying federal buildings, but parents asking the local school board questions. Those people are now being deemed terrorists. And Antifa, we couldn't send the FBI. We couldn't send any kind of federal aid out to Oregon. Do you remember what they said when we suggested that? Cut 6.
Some of the recent protests against police violence and racism have been met with a federal response. And in Portland, Oregon, local officials believe that presence is causing more harm than good.
It's like pouring gasoline on a fire.
Your presence here isn't wanted. It's not needed.
In the nature of the man to lash out, he thought, great, I'll send these federal guys to Portland. We can have a fight. But he hasn't thought through the consequences of it.
Federal agencies should never be used as your own personal army.
Trump troops in Portland are definitely not the answer. As we saw, this only escalates the tension, and we need dialogue and de-escalation.
I think it has a substantial chilling impact on First Amendment speech.
J. Ashley Albies, a civil rights attorney in Portland, worries the tactic may deter law-abiding citizens from participating in demonstrations.
Mayors of 5 major cities sent a joint letter to President Trump and Attorney General Barr today calling for the removal of federal officers from their cities, saying, quote, the unilateral deployment of these forces into American cities is unprecedented and violates fundamental constitutional protections and tenets of federalism.
He's stepping on his political influence onto the Department of Homeland Security to use this big law enforcement force to go beyond the scope of what their normal activities are to do.
Local officials there had been allowing peaceful demonstrations without too much interference. But President Trump was not happy about that. So he decided to send in the feds.
Okay, so let me just go over what they're saying. You know, I was being gracious to Joe Biden when Mike Lee shockingly said, no, Glenn, that's exactly what he meant. When I said he used the word complicit, saying if people in Congress don't go along with his spending packages, you're complicit in America's decline. Could you look that word up? That's a legal term. And it means you're involved in illegal activity to harm or steal. Do you have it by any chance? Mm-hmm. Yeah, keep looking it up. And I said, I'm sure he's just using that word. And he said, no, he's using that word directly. He knows exactly what that means. Now, listen, he's saying that. He's sending FBI into our local school board. He's calling parents terrorists. Let me just quote the left. That's like pouring gasoline on a fire. It's wrong to use the Fed officers as a personal army. It's only going to make things worse. It's what we need is dialogue. This is going to deter law-abiding citizens from actually protesting things in a law-abiding way. This is a violation of federalism. All of those things are true, and they knew it then. They know it now. They know it now. They know exactly what they're doing. They are pouring gasoline on a fire. They are using the FBI as a personal army, one for, I think, the labor unions. It is going to make things worse because we do need a dialogue. It will, if we don't stand up, if we don't know exactly what they're doing, it will deter law-abiding citizens. They know exactly what they're doing. They're itching for a fight. They want you to strike back. They want you to do it. They will use that as the excuse to transform everything overnight. You know, there's this talk about a national divorce. We are in civil war. Just one side is fighting it. We're in revolution. One side is fighting it. The left is fighting a revolution. The rest of us are in denial. The rest of us are trying to make sure that that doesn't happen. And I include some Democrats in that as well. I mean, your neighbor Democrats, unless they're crazy and you live in San Francisco. The people who are not blind and people who do still believe in the Bill of Rights. We're all standing around going, I'm not like that. I don't want to be like that. I'm so sick of Washington. I'm so sick of all of this. And we're standing around as they are changing the foundation of the very rocks we stand on. And it's going to end in a hot war because the left wants it. They want it. I don't. I don't think you do. But I do want to preserve my country. And I said 12 years ago, I'm willing to split the states right now. You take 25, we take 25. We get Texas. And you can take that. We get first pick, Texas. You can take whatever states you want. You pick 25. And you can leave us with all of the worst states. Okay? And we will cream you in the end. Economically, the health of our society, we'll clean your clock. But we have to build a wall around those 25 states. Let's just take everything from Texas on up. Okay? You can have the coasts. Fine. We're going to take from Texas on up, and we'll cream you. We'll cream you. Not because you don't have resources and we do, but because all of your policies are so screwed up, you'll be eating each other in a cannibalistic way within 10 years. And you know who you'll blame? Us. We have to have a wall. You're not coming in with your ideology. We have no contact with you because you will end up blaming us because you can't ever blame yourself. I'm absolutely willing to do that. No war. Just take it. Fine. Take the coasts. We're taking this. And I never want to hear from you again. You do your thing. We'll do our thing. But I'm not going to secede. I'm not seceding. The one thing that comes with this is you send all of those original documents to us. Because we're the United States of America. And there might even only be 25 of them. But we're the United States of America. You want to change it. You think those documents are bad. We say those documents are not being enforced. We're saying that no one is paying attention to that document. We will. We will. I don't need to change a darn thing in our Constitution. See, that's the difference. The South broke away because they wanted to change the rules. Fine. I don't want to change the rules. I want the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights, and I want them enforced. That's what government is supposed to do. Enforce those things. I want them taught in schools. You can have everything else. I don't care. I don't care. Just leave us alone. We're at that place. And maybe it's time we start having that dialogue. After the top of the hour, we have some things on who Karl Marx really was. Everybody loves Karl Marx. And I'm going to tell you next hour about Washington State University is leading a new $125 million U.S. aid project to detect emerging viruses. So what they were doing in Wuhan, I know this is all just hearsay. No, it's not. Watch our special in a couple of weeks. what they were doing in Wuhan, we're now going to have all of our universities doing it. Oh, we can find every possible virus from every possible animal. What could possibly go wrong? More in a minute.